Hello Gaudi class and welcome to History. We're going to carry on looking at the ISS today. Now, I know that a lot of you watched the first half of that video yesterday and I've seen some of your feedback on tapestry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer you the option of doing a bit of a research project today. So this lesson is going to be very much like the last one. We're going to look at the second half of the video and then we're going to answer some questions. If you would like to, then you can do something different. Tim Peake has a video on YouTube of him explaining how the ISS works. So maybe you could watch that and put together a bit of a fact file on the ISS. You don't have to, you can join in this lesson. I'm just thinking about some of the comments I've had and I don't want you to carry on doing something that you're not enjoying. So either carry on with this lesson with me or stop now and go and do some research of your own on the ISS. If you are carrying on this lesson with me, then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to follow the link under this video and watch the second half of the video that we watched last time, where we've got a tour of the ISS and we looked at some of the things like them growing the lettuce and their sleeping quarters, and we talked about the fact that they drink their urine, weed, it's been cleaned. They don't go to the toilet and drink out the toilet. But it does go through a process where they make sure it's absolutely clean and filtered. But you've got to remember that there is a limited amount of water in space. And if you think that's disgusting, you might actually want to find out where the water that comes out of our tap comes from, that we drink. Anyway, so watch the second half of the video and we've got some questions to answer. So you can do it in two ways, like we did last time. You can watch the video and then come back and look at the questions and answer them. Or you can have a look at the questions first, and then when you go to watch the video, you can think, oh yes, that's the question I need to answer. You don't have to answer all the questions, there are 11 of them, so choose ones you like and leave out ones you're not very interested in. That's absolutely up to you. But what I don't want is you going, oh yes, today I think I'll only answer one question, when you know that if you were at school, we'd make you answer more than that. So please stretch yourself. So let's have a look at the questions. Right, question 1. What orientation do the astronauts do their lifting in? So orientation is what position? Which way are they facing when they do their lifting? That's a very strange word, orientation. Question 2. What was the name of the place where astronauts can see out the window? It's got to be the best place on the ISS. Beautiful views. Right, question 3. What else do astronauts do in the cupola? 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 I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that word. Let's go for cupola. It sounds right in my head. So what do astronauts do there? Question 4. What was the first thing that came to your mind when you first looked out the window? So what did you think when you first looked out that window? And question 5, what could you see out of the window? Question 6, which country made the PMM? And Mrs Gabella, there's no question mark at the end of that question. Which country made the PMM? Do you remember that was where they kept their personal belongings? Question 7, how many rockets did you see attached to the ISS? I liked the one idea that you have to always have one. It's like their escape pod. If anything was to happen, you always have to have one rocket attached so that they could run away if they needed to. Question 8, why is it important that the water bags have a clamp on the straw? Question 9, what does the GEM stand for? J-E-M, what does that stand for? Question 10, how many experiments did Stephen say there was? That one again. How many experiments did Stephen say were being done on the ISS? And question 11, what were the main differences you noticed in the Russian module on the ISS? When you're ready to, come back and we're going to go through the answers together. So let's have a look at those answers. What position, so what orientation, do the astronauts do their lifting in? So they are upside down. So they hang down when they're lifting things, which is a very funny idea, really, isn't it? What was the name of the place where the astronauts can see out the window? And I didn't like this answer because if you've watched the rest of it, you know I'm not very sure how to pronounce this. So I'm going to call it the cupola. I don't know if that's right. What else do astronauts do in the cupola? They do robotic experiments. What was the first thing that came in your mind when you first looked out that window? And I can't give you an answer to that one because I don't know what came into your mind. Mind reading is not one of my skills. So what came into your mind? I thought everything looked so small. It was really weird how small everything looked. What could you see out the window? And you could see the arm which holds on to the cargo vehicle, so the things that bring their food and when they come in and all the things that come up to the space station for their experiments. So when people dock, it's the arm that goes out. Which country made the PMM? And it was Italy. How many rockets did you see docked onto the ISS? And it's 2. Like I said, there's always one because it's their escape module. So when they come up to space, you have 3 astronauts normally at a time come up, and there's 3 there. And so at one point you have 6. And then the first 3 will go down and another 3 will come up. And so they take it in turns. They split themselves. So you'll be up there for 6 months. So the first 3 will go up, and then after 3 months, someone new will come up, and then they'll stay, but the first lot will go back down. So one of them takes them back and forth, and the other one is always there as an emergency vehicle. Why is it important that the water bags have a clamp on the straw so the water droplets don't escape? And if you've watched any of the videos that we've suggested you watch about brushing your teeth, cleaning your hair, you'll know what happens to the water droplets. There's a lovely video where they're actually showing you what happens to water in space, and they're wringing out a washcloth. That's Chris Hadfield. That's it, Chris Hadfield again. So if you Google on YouTube Chris Hadfield and water in space, he'll show you what happens when you wring out a face cloth and what happens to water. It's quite cool. What is the JEM, the GEM? It is the Japanese experiment module. How many experiments did Stephen say that were being done on the ISS? And it's over 200. So given there are only 6 people on the ISS at any one time, that's a lot of scientific experiments. Every single one of them is looking after. Very hard work. And last one, what were the main differences you noticed in the Russian module on the ISS? And the Russian module was very compact, which means it was a very small space. They had lots to fit in. So the colour of the walls was different, and the astronauts' belongings were spread out across the module. And can you remember what you're called if you fly from Russia and not from the US? You're called a cosmonaut, not an astronaut. So if you train under a Russian space program, then you are a cosmonaut. So maybe that should say the cosmonauts' belongings are dispersed. So again, you can show me your answers on Tapestry, but since we've gone through them together, you don't really need to. But it's been great touring the ISS with you. I love the ISS. It makes me feel amazed that all of this is happening in space right above us at this very moment while we're sitting here doing our lessons. It's just incredible to think that there are people all that way up in space sitting on the ISS, and that every 90 minutes they fly above us. Just makes my mind ring. So I thank you for exploring the ISS with me, and I look forward to seeing you for our next lesson.